Good evening, everybody. Another episode of All the Scoop podcast with Kevin Scoop Culp. Hope everybody is, as you listen to this, I don't know when you'll be listening, but it is Thursday, and apparently glacier is about to hit South Carolina because everybody in the whole town of Camden is out at the store trying to buy stuff. So hopefully, if your power's out, you're conserving some battery life. At least you have a podcast that's already downloaded. You don't even have to stream it. So hope everybody enjoys. Stay safe. Hopefully it won't be that bad. But got a great guest tonight. Very excited about this. Been trying to work around his schedule for a while to get this done. And we had a lot to talk about. Well known in Camden circles, in my opinion, one of the legends of Camden High School football. But we'll get into that in a minute. But before I let you know who we're talking to tonight, let me play a little intro music as a little hint for you.
Yeah, all I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win, win, win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there.
Anybody that knows Camden football might can guess that. Anybody that knows this young man will potentially be able to guess it because from younger years, and we'll talk about it all, younger years, middle years, and this past year, a lot of winning in this guy's career. More affectionately known to most people as G-Dub, we got Grayson White on the podcast tonight. How you doing, Grayson?
I'm doing great. Excited to be on the podcast, Coop.
Yes, sir. And I know that Thursday nights on in college are a big study night, so I won't keep you too long. You told me you had weights in the morning, so
Yeah.
Mom, Dad, if you're listening to it, he's being responsible.
That's right.
But anyway, appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we've had a few different Camden, what we call synonymous with Camden sports. On All the Scoop, we've had some coaches, we've had some people like last we had Tom Dodato, who's been covering sports for 35 to 40 years. He wouldn't tell me the exact date.
Oh yeah.
But one thing I've tried to accomplish is bringing on some older, former Camden athletes, whether it be, football, basketball, baseball. In your case, it was primarily, at least in your later years, football. So I knew him, and a lot of people that know Grayson White nowadays would not if you know Grayson now, but you didn't know him when you were little, when he was little, you saw a video and stuff of him, it would almost, you'd almost be surprised, very low key, very, kind of flatline now, doesn't get real excited unless he runs over a 275-pound linebacker or something like that. But in his younger years, very energetic. But let's look at a sports focus, Grayson, and just kind of give us an idea when you were little. We all play sports, but what really lit that competitive spirit, that fire, that love of sports when you were younger?
I think it started, my brother Brady, he's always around sports. I got two step brothers, and you got Sam Ferguson over there, my cousin. And I'm the youngest out of all of them, so they would just beat me to shreds when I was younger. So that always lit a fire up under me, and so I would say really that kind of all started it. And, watching them go play sports, just always being around, camaraderie and everything. just to excite me. There's no other feeling like when you're playing the game you love.
And I will correct you on one aspect of what you just said. So yeah, he's the youngest of the boys. There is a younger cousin / sibling of people that he discussed at this point, who, in my opinion, is probably the best athlete out of all of them, and that'd be Lakin Peebles. So,
Yeah.
So I didn't want,
feisty.
I didn't want her to
She
feel
might
left
get mad
out.
if I left her out.
That's right. And
No, L Dog knows I'm her biggest fan.
yeah, and definitely, probably overall, she probably is the best athlete out of all of y'all when it's all said and done.
She's awesome.
Just like a lot of people, grew up in the recreation department, playing multiple sports. Since we're focusing a little more primarily on football, and we'll do this throughout the interview in different parts of your career, and I kind of know one, just that actually, kind of had a happen, as I like to say, organically, due to relationship or being related, but also having an idea there may be another one that will be mentioned. But kind of, who were some of your coaches and mentors in your recreation years that really drove you, lit? You talked about how the fire was lit, but just kind of pointed you in the right direction, kind of helped navigate you and put you, on that successful path.
Yeah, so my first coach is obviously my stepdad, Marshall Minnick. He still coaches me to this day. Always on me about everything. I wouldn't be the competitor nor the man I am today without him. But starting off, first coaches I had Marcus Cato, one of the best coaches to start off with when you're getting to learn football. Played with his son Zane and all of them. Brian Shivers, he's one of my favorite of all times. And, every time I see him, I give him a big hug. I love his family. I love all of them. They just, they bring you to the game, and, it sticks with you when you have coaches like that. It makes it real special. Going on from there, a bunch of coaches, really. Other than that, those are my first three in rec ball, and they really instilled a lot of characteristics in me that I still carry to this day. Yeah,
no, the one I figured that you would mention was B. Shivers. He actually went to school with him. He's a year older than me, and a lot of people don't know he doesn't do it much anymore. But when he was younger, he's got younger kids that participate in sports, but a lot of the teams that he coached were just flat out because he wanted to coach and help kids. And there's a lot of people that owe a debt of gratitude to Brian and mention him as somebody that mentored him. And then, like you said, Marshall, although not your biological father, you were probably what, 4 or 5 at the time
around there.
Yeah, they got married, so he has. And people think Marshall's this old mean guy. He never smiles. He's a teddy bear, If he's listening to this, I'll pick him up and throw him down on the ground in a heartbeat. I'm not scared of him.
Me and you both. I told him this weekend.
Yeah, together we definitely can take him. But he is a good mentor, and he continues to do it. With kids that are not even related to him. So it's coming from a family where my father was a coach, and I see how much hard work it takes, and the behind the scenes stuff that people in the stands don't see, the time, the tape that you have to watch, the working out, it's especially during the season, it's basically a full-time job. So much respect to him and all the coaches that take their time to lead what we hope in most cases is going to be a championship for Camden High School. So we'll kind of go from rec, kind of a jump over middle school, just in the essence of time. mean, we'll touch on middle school a little bit because honestly, I don't know much about how all y'all. I know all y'all that are around the same age, were there at the same time. But how was y'all's middle? People know about your high school career. How was y'all's middle school career?
To go along with the song that you said, all we did was win. I started off in the 7th grade as a fullback. Coach Bowers, Coach Austin McCaskill, Coach Benny DeBrule. Coach DeBrule, he's one of my favorites of all time. I still talk to him to this day. I started off 7th grade year, played a good bit on both sides of the ball, and then 8th grade I got moved to quarterback. And Coach Ross Huff, another Camden legend baseball player, was the quarterback coach. And we went however many games we play and So, we were a really good middle school team. I think my class didn't lose a game for about 2 or 3 years in a row. I don't know. You have to ask Coach Renf about that. He knows all those facts.
It wasn't many.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a program, Camden Middle School, even to this day. It really shows you why Camden as a high school has been so ultra successful, especially here recently. Just because the talent that's being developed down there, the camaraderie that you build, it's not just, some people who have never played sports or just watch it casually or socially. It's this guy throwing a ball and this other guy, catching a ball. I mean, before I started playing football, my mom explained it as being Red Rover. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, what in the world are you talking about? She was like, the running back he runs Red Rover, and he tries to bust through the line. And I was like, you're exactly right, Mama. But they don't understand sometimes the camaraderie that you have to build. So you can have 11 players on the field that are ultra elite, but if they don't play well together, or they hate each other's guts, or don't know each other's tendencies, or can't tell, if somebody's mad or sad, like, I know y'all are friends, but even if y'all weren't friends, you probably can look at Carter Remp and know what type of mood he's in just because you've been around him so long.
Yes, sir.
And it's usually a good mood, but
not normally.
Mm-hmm. But it's a vital part. Rec just kind of gets you there. It teaches us the blocking. It teaches you some plays. It teaches you teamwork. But middle school really is, the difference maker. Like, that's when some people decide to stop playing sports.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily fun anymore. But that's really where you start learning the other side of it. Like, this is serious. We got a goal going for us. So I wanted to leave a good bit of time for high school because there's a lot to talk about. And pardon me because I can't remember, but as a freshman, did you play varsity as a freshman?
No, so freshman, we had a 9th grade team, and we went 10-0 in 9th grade. It was basically my varsity team my senior year, just in 9th grade. So we were pretty stacked.
See, when you were in 9th grade, who would have been like the seniors? Would that have been like Joe Burns' year? Or?
That was Joseph Burns, Jafari, Willis, so on and so forth.
Great team in their own right. He mentioned Willis Lane. I mean, he was a finalist at about 5'4". He was a finalist for Mr. Football in state of South Carolina. So sophomore, is that when you transitioned to varsity?
Yep. So sophomore year, I get moved to varsity
as a defensive lineman, though, right?
On the D line. Yep.
And then people that don't know the story, or don't know Grayson, he is a stacked young man. Not skinny, not not chubby. He is just a ball of muscles. Not tall, but he's not short. Depends on which, media guide or whatever you're looking at.
Depends.
I remember when you were a sophomore, and every time, every first game, I buy a program at the high school just to see who's on there that I don't know is on there. Yeah. And it said Grayson White, like your junior year. It said Grayson White 6. It said something like 6'2", 225 pounds. I was like, man, what?
You do the measurements with the cleats on, man. That's what you got to do. I'm wearing cleats on the football field.
Yeah, and those are the real bad rain cleats, like the 3 incher.
Yeah.
But yeah, so people don't know Grayson. I say that because he's a defensive line like mold as far as your body type goes, and a great defensive lineman. Coming up, I would assume you probably played that position quite a bit in your younger years. Then, but he also had a phenomenal arm on him. So was it Carlton Best?
Yeah,
went down.
Best. Yeah,
tore his ACL.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I can't remember who else was quarterback on. So how did that decision happen? Did Rimp just come to you and say, you're playing quarterback, or was there discussions, tryouts? How did that transpire?
I played quarterback in middle school and ninth grade, so I knew a good bit of the plays. And then we're going into AC Flora of my sophomore year, a game that ended 3-0, by the way, which we fell short. But so we're in that game. I'm going in as I'm playing running back because our running back actually got hurt the game before against Lakewood too. So I'm playing running back, and at halftime it's 0-0, or maybe they had already kicked the field goal. But Coach Sisk and Coach Rimp come up to me, and they basically just say, you're playing quarterback. And to this day, I remember walking on that sideline like, oh, my Lord, what is about to happen? Didn't know any of the plays. I'm kind of just get thrown in there again. And they won state that year. They had the best defense in the state. And, I get thrown in there. And mind you, we have, 2 sophomore running backs and a sophomore receiver. So, they're not too familiar with all the play concepts and everything yet either. It's like the 4th game. But, that's how all this craziness started.
And so the next Monday or Tuesday, or, what, I think y'all did it a little different than when we did it. When I was younger, we watched film on Monday and basically lifted weights. So we're kind of were like the pros almost. We didn't start practicing really full go until Tuesday. But so it was just like, this is the new, or did you kind of like walk out on the practice field that next week and be like, are they really going to put me at quarterback for this week? Or
I wasn't too sure, honestly, because I didn't know whether it had been an injury to our other backup or what had happened. So, the next week I'm still out there wearing number 45 on my jersey. And I'm like, and they're like, all right, offense, and I'm defense, individual. I'm like, I don't know which way to go. And they call me over there. I can't wear 45 as a quarterback, right? And they're like, you don't have to right now. So I went up to Carlton and I was like, dude, please, can I get that 15? And that's where that originated from.
I didn't realize he was 15.
Yep. And we meet on Sundays. Actually, we would meet on Sundays when I was in school to watch the previous game and like give out awards for the games and stuff and all that. And so we were watching film, and they didn't say much about it until that Monday.
And so your sophomore year, your running back was, my mind's going.
Avery Hickman.
I'm getting too old. Yeah, I remember Avery Hickman. And y'all just kind of went on a rampage from there on out, right? Did y'all lose another game?
After that, no, we did not. We did not lose another game. We almost lost my first game as a starter to Lake City, which was not the best game. It was 11-6. You know, there were some questionable calls in there, but not the best start. So you know, I wasn't. I was. You know, that kind of obviously no disrespect to Lake City, but whenever you know the past scores against us in Lake City have been far wider margin than that. So
that was at Lake City, though, right?
Yeah, it was at Lake City.
It's a whole different ball game down there in the
no
PD
environment. Yeah, exactly. Whole different.
You get out of there on the bus as quickly as possible, man, because even the principal's running after you trying to talk trash, man. You know, they've got a pretty long tradition. I don't think they've been good recently, but they got a real long tradition. Sean Carson comes to mind as far as somebody that played at Lake City. So they're passionate, man. Like a lot of places you had to play. I mean, I would assume Marlboro County probably was about the same way. I mean,
they get hyped up for the first quarter, and then it's 60-0 at half. So they kind of empty out after that,
But usually, like in little small towns, like I mean, people that don't know, Marlboro County is in the middle. I mean, the stadium it's right outside of Bennettsville, South Carolina. But the stadium, from pretty much 5 out of 6 ways you can get to it, just pops out of this cornfield. It's
it's a scary bus ride.
and the the sheriff is probably an All-American running back that played at Marlboro County. So I mean. There's nobody on your side except for those people that come up on the buses in some of those small towns. Y'all went all the way to the state championship that year. It moved around a lot. Where was it played that first year?
So my sophomore year was played at Benedict, and it was, I think, December 2nd, and it was 78 degrees, 80 degrees. And I think the stadium ended up running out of water for all the fans. And we ended up getting our butts beat, but
that was against Daniel. It started out kind of close, and like 70. They scored on a 90-yard pass, and then we scored on I think Avery or somebody ran like a 75-yard touchdown, and then at some point the faucet just kind of ran out for Camden. So second year, you know what to expect. Got pretty much, like you said, the whole crowd coming back. Y'all were very young in that sophomore year, if I remember correctly. There was a lot of sophomores and juniors playing on that team.
Right.
But there were some expectations that came with your junior year. Once again, Daniel was picked to be the kind of the front runner, but Camden wasn't going to surprise anybody that year. Kind of talk about that junior year. You go into the season, you're the starting quarterback. You know that. Your teammates know that. You've been able to do off-season conditioning and workouts with them. You're hitting the ground running. Kind of talk about that season because it was a pretty special season in its own right.
Yeah, it was. So, the main thing that really helped me adjust to throwing the ball, because in my sophomore year we were more running, using my legs, was 7-on-7 tournaments over the summer, and just building a connection with guys who are already my best friends, and just going out there and doing what we love to do, and that really translated well to the field. We had a stacked defensive line. Xavier McLeod at Georgia, Meek Jones, Georgia Tech. David Copley, I think he has the sack record at Camden High School. Not to mention, all the great DBs, including, JoJo at VTech, Tylen Drakeford, all them. Well, I don't think Tylen was playing that year, not yet, but still, Henry Green, he's a dog, one of my best friends. But so going into my junior year, we had real high hopes. Coach Clyburn became the OC, and me and Coach Clyburn have a great connection still to this day. But we have a few rough games, losing to Hartsville in dramatic fashion. losing to Gray, and just not our best game at all, and then losing to AC Flora when they lost. AC Flora was in 4A. They lost to Lenore Sellers that year by like a touchdown, I'm pretty sure. And so 3 tough losses, start out 2 and 3, and going on from that, we really hit the ground running in region play. Won the region. First round, played Loris that year, and we started off slow on offense. That defense that year was just insane, and ended up beating them 27-2. And then going into Lower Richland, the game gets moved to a Saturday because of weather or something. I can't remember what it was. Saturday at like noon because we had homecoming or something. And on the first play of our offensive drive, I take it for about 60 yards and get tackled from the side and rolled up on my ankle. And then I had a high ankle sprain after that. Wasn't able to play, but I think it was 10 plays that whole game. We got in there for it was a real close game. It wouldn't have been if none of that had happened. But got in there. Got in there on a QB sneak at the end of the game. So we were really hyped about that, but there were still a lot of questions going forward about, if I could run or what we were going to do. So we're going up against Dillon. They're, one of the best teams at high school or South Carolina high school history, one of the best programs at least. And, we start off hot against them. I think it's 14 at half maybe. And then, I'm not able to run at all. So I'm just throwing. And also David Copley's out, Zach Earle's out. So 2 of our good defensive players, best defensive players are hurt. So we ended up they put in like a 280-pound defensive lineman at running back and just ran it down our throats all game.
Yeah.
So so that season that really hurt, especially because most of my best friends were seniors that year. So that really sucked the way that ended, just because there wasn't anything we could do about it. But that's how the game goes.
Yeah, and you mentioned Henry Green. It's tough looking back there as a quarterback, and you got a 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is.
Yeah.
Safety back there to where you're not going to be able to just kind of drop it over people that don't watch football. I mean, college is different, but in high school, it's not uncommon for your a good majority of your defensive backs, meaning for people who don't have a lot of football knowledge, we'll explain it in layman's terms, but the people that cover the passing game, the receivers, the safeties, the one that's typically all the way back, and he's kind of monitoring the whole field. So, it's not uncommon for those players to be in high school. I mean, anywhere from 5'6" to 5'8" or 5'9". They're typically fast, and sometimes, Camden's a little different. You mentioned Tylen Drakeford. I mean, he can catch the ball just as well as he can defend the ball. But they say a lot of times defensive backs are receivers that can't catch the ball. So
defense for a reason.
yeah. Camden kind of breaks that mold. We've had quite a few that. Joe Burns, we mentioned him earlier, comes to mind. I think he ran back 4 or 5 interceptions for touchdowns. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken. So then we go into your senior year. Yeah. And there's really, really some big expectations. And like he said, Lewis Clyburn, who, local people very familiar with him, but he grew up in the mold of he played college for Steve Spurrier at Duke. So he was not by any means. Now, Sisk wasn't either. And a lot of people, Daniel Sisk is now the head coach at North Central High School. But he had left and gone up to, was it Dorman, I think?
Yep. Dorman, yep.
Yeah, for a year or two, which is probably one of the biggest schools. I think it might be the biggest school in the state of South Carolina as far as enrollment wise. But anyway, Lewis stepped into that role, and so it wasn't like a 3 yards in a cloud of dust type offense. He had grown up with the Steve Spurrier mindset. He also had coached, I believe, at App State, which at that point ran that same kind of. It was kind of new back then. It's commonplace now, but your spread offense, run pass option type of spread offense. Something that Grayson as a quarterback was very good at, because typically people think about Lenora Sellers. Every quarterback is not 6'4" and 260 or whatever he is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them are tall, lanky, skinny, or short and fast, and the run play option really played to Grayson's strengths, because he's sitting there and he's a quarterback in a defensive lineman's body, so they really had to, but he could throw it, and so defenses know tendencies. They look at film, like Grayson said, and they can tell, this guy comes in. There's a good tendency that he's going to keep the ball a lot on the handoff. Grayson, you couldn't do that. He could drop it wherever he wanted to, passing wise, but then he could run over the defensive end like he owned him. So I thought that made Camden very multi-dimensional on offense, regardless of the amount of talent. There was talent all over that field. I tell people to this day, I saw Ja Mayrant. I walked into Zyreek Bradford asked me to come watch one of his AAU practices. When I first met Zy, I do a little fundraiser every year for my dad, usually around like his birthday or something like that, and I take the funds that people donate, and I hand them out. A lot goes to the girls basketball program, obviously, but I try to find one or two local things that he would have supported and wanted that money to go towards. Zy, I think he had just graduated high school, had just started his AAU program, so I donated some, and he asked me to come by and just check out the team and stuff like that. And I walked in there, and I'd never seen Ja Mayrant without football pads on. But as soon as I walked in that gym, I knew which one of those players was Ja Mayrant, because he was by far, wasn't even close. You just looked into like, good God, that kid right there is an athlete. Like he almost was built, in a lab or something. No fat on him. Fast as could be, could jump. He could jump out of the gym, and he was, one of the main playmakers on that senior year offense. Really ran through pretty much the whole season there, and then guess who we see once again? Guess who we see at the end of the year? I think that was back at Benedict College, correct?
No, so my senior year was at SC State. I think they still play it there now.
Yeah, that's right. Kind of if I remember correctly, it kind of, we were down a little bit and kind of came back, right? Now I know it was a shootout.
Yeah, we had came back, or we had been down. I think I threw like a pick six on the first drive of halftime. It put us down maybe 14 or something. And so, after that, we come back and make a few great plays, have a few clutch stops on defense. And then it ends up being a tie ball game at the end and going into overtime.
Yeah, and, these type of things sometimes make more impact on your life and teach you lessons more than they call it the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. But if anybody has ever watched the movie or read the book Friday Night Lights, it basically was a mirror image. The end of that game, if you've ever seen that movie, was basically a mirror image. Just a I guess maybe a yard, but at least a few yards short of kind of getting over that hump. But I would guess, knowing you personally and the type of competitiveness that you've had as I've seen you grow up, I know that, stung, it hurt, but I also know kind of the cloth that you're bred from. And I think even though that was a stinging loss, it probably mentally, emotionally, and, whatever else you want to say, probably taught you a lesson that winning, everybody wants to win, but I'm sure there were some lessons that you took from losing in that fashion, that helped you in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to lose like that. You never want to lose, but the good outcome about that is I get to wake up the next morning. I mean, I get to come home to a great family. I got a great group of friends, great group of people that supported me through that time. And it's never the end of the world, especially in sports. That's why it's a game. And it's one of the most beautiful things in the world to, experience both sides. And, because, we've done a lot of winning in Camden. And, all I could say is, I mean, if you would have asked me about that, probably a week after that, I would have been like, I don't know why it happened to me or whatever. But, as I've grown and matured and, talked to my family and all that, you just got to be grateful for every experience you have in life.
Yeah. And I mean, regardless of it, you have a story at the end of the day that you can tell, your kids, people. Camden's a small community, and people know this, and people still, some of them are dead and gone, rest in peace. But, people still talk about the 1964 state championship team. People talk about the 1990 state championship. They talk about, this team that maybe went 8-5, but they beat this team in dramatic fashion. So when I say probably one of the, not just on talent alone, but Grayson himself and all of his teammates, as you've noticed a few times in his replies, he doesn't take full credit for anything. He's always talking about his teammates and his friends. I mean, they're synonymous with a couple years before them through their senior year, just a resurgence in Camden high school football that's still to this day still kind of going strong. And I think those teams. I told Rimp when I was he did my podcast, and I think Camden has had, I think he said 3. He's the third coach in like 40 years. So you had, or fourth coach. You had Red Lynch. You had Billy Ammons was there forever and ever. You had Coach Neal was there for, at least I think 20 years. And now Brian, I think, is going on almost 10 years. But, like I told him, all of them were kind of old school. They were from the old, old school. He kind of breathed some new life into it. He started doing things that other places were doing that made people like, hey, that's cool. Like let's run out of an inflatable dog with smoke blowing all over us. Let's wear camouflage jerseys. Now a lot of it helped that with the agreement, and I don't know exactly how that all works, but I know how it does in college. But with the Under Armour outfitting y'all, which I'm jealous as can be of that.
Oh yeah,
I
we
think I
were
wore the
swagged
same
out.
pants for 3 years, but
Yeah,
it made it cool again, and the fact that kind of was parallel to y'all's generation, I'd say probably from when you were in middle school, 7th grade through graduating. Not only was that cool stuff and the Bulldog Walk and all that stuff, cool from a rah-rah or a aesthetic standpoint, Camden was winning, and they were winning
yeah,
big in most cases, and they were winning a lot. And that, I think, kind of sparked a resurgence in the football program that, like I said, to this day still continues. So let's talk about right at the end. Me and Donato got in this a little bit, and recruitment. So tell us kind of what you thought about the recruitment process, who you were recruited by. I didn't mention it earlier. We'll talk a little bit about this past year, but Grayson signed and plays football at Newberry College up in Newberry, South Carolina, which is Division II, correct?
yep, yes, sir.
So when did the recruiting start? Who all were you interested in? What was your decision making in the end? Was there a chance to potentially go to a, I don't know about like a Carolina or something, but maybe like an App State or a Coastal and play a more limited role, and you decided, kind of walk us through your recruitment.
Yeah, so I started going on visits probably my junior year of high school, like a lot of kids do. That they go, I've been to Clemson, stuff like that, and just enjoy experiences and get my name out there. Coach Rumpf Coach Rumpf does a great job at allowing kids to go experience things that they might not have ever experienced with high school football, and so I would go on visits there. Clemson, South Carolina, and then after or about midway through my junior year, is when I started reaching out to coaches, trying to send all my film out there. And one thing that I'll always remember a coach saying is, don't send them every single clip that you have the ball in your hands. Don't make a coach try and watch a 15-minute video because they're only gonna watch the first two. So just a tip out there to any kids going through recruitment: don't send a whole full season tape to a coach. They ain't gonna watch it. But so I started talking to App State. I started talking to Mercer. Small D1 schools like that. But nothing ever really came through with that. And then my senior year, Coach Stephen Flynn, our defensive coordinator here at Newberry, he started coming through to Camden, probably twice a week, and he'd come and talk to me for an hour and, tell me expectations of me, tell me things he wants, tells me things he can see me doing. And, he really instilled a relationship not only with me, but with my parents and my family, which is, utmost of importance to me. And so, I get offered by Newberry, and then I got offered Bryce Jeffco. He was the coach at Erskine. He came and offered me, former Camden quarterback. But yeah, so I kind of, I come on a couple game day visits, and Newberry's a lot like Camden in a way. It's a very small town. People love football here. Saturdays are always packed out here at Setzer Field. And, as soon as I went to my game day visit and just saw the energy and environment, even though it's a small school, we got 1,500 students, if that. It's just a great environment. And, that's what I'm all about coming from Camden. I don't want to go, to a school with a big stadium, but they only fill up 20% of seats. That's just not my kind of place I want to be at. So really my recruitment into my senior year was kind of not as much as I wanted it to. But, I would tell the kids nowadays, you got to trust in yourself at the end of the day. Trust in yourself and trust in God, most importantly. And, this is where I was led to, and I'm so grateful for, the experiences we've had that we'll talk about in a minute. But it's just been awesome. Recruitment is awesome, but it's also changed a lot since I was in school.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So 2 questions about that recruitment. Doesn't Stephen Flynn have some kind of connection to Kershaw County, or am I?
Yeah, so Coach Flynn coached baseball at Lugoff, I think, when he was real young.
Okay.
And he also, coached my dad at Buford High School when he was in high school. So, we had a connection there. But he knew my mom, and he made it a really big point to make a relationship with me, and as well as so did the other coaches.
And you're also, like you said, so two comments. Number one, you're an hour, depending on how fast you're driving and how much Columbia traffic stops you. I mean, you're about an hour and 15 minutes away from home. So you can come home and let mom do your laundry if you need to, and they, can come see, all the home games. It's very convenient. Secondly, you mentioned Newberry. Basically, Newberry and Camden are kind of like mirror images of each other. When I first got back from college, somebody thought it was a good idea for me to participate in this thing called Leadership Kershaw County, which basically it was through the Chamber of Commerce, and we would meet monthly, and we looked at infrastructure of towns and their recreation, their chambers, their industries. Like one month we might have a meeting out at DuPont and learn about industries in Kershaw County. But we had to kick it off, we had like an overnight retreat, and that's where they took us, was to Newberry, because it mirrored Camden so much. You almost walk downtown in some cases and you feel like we ate at some place where you actually can go upstairs and eat great food, seafood. One of my brother's friends from college owns a little place there. I can't remember the name of it, but I mean, we saw him that night walking down the street with a bushel of oysters. They got the Opera House. We've got, the Fine Arts Center. Schools, their high schools are the Bulldogs. We're the Bulldogs. It's kind of scary. So yeah, it's kind of like, people are like, yeah, it's great, you're going to college, but somebody goes from Camden, South Carolina, and goes and plays in Eugene, Oregon for the Oregon Ducks. That's a big adjustment,
Yeah, definitely.
You're not just 3 hours behind, I mean, you're dealing with rain 3/4 of the year, and, away from your family and friends and stuff like that. So just I'm glad you mentioned that part of recruitment. The part that you were mentioning in the end, obviously, is you didn't really have to deal with it. It was kind of on the beginning stages. It wasn't what it is now, but NIL, it's in my opinion, kind of ruining college football, especially at the higher echelons. I think some of the smaller colleges and universities like y'all is being done the right way, where I'll for instance, Zach Haney plays baseball up there at Newberry. And my son did some lessons with him, think very highly of Zach. But I know, like, the baseball team has a collective, and they send out whatever text or emails and people donate to that, and then it's kind of dispersed. There's not a Lenora Sellers up there making whatever $2.7 million.
Yeah, definitely. I think I have around $20 in my NIL
There
club
you
account right now.
Hey, you can go eat at that restaurant that I talked about.
Yeah, and whenever it gets to 30, I'll probably withdraw it.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, I was always curious about the recruitment because I support these local kids that I know and stuff, but I try not to get nosy and try to stick and try to find out too much. But it's always an interesting tidbit to find out, what because everybody's recruitment story is different, and it's and I'm good. I'm glad you threw in there just because I know one important part. One thing that Grayson's grown up on and still to this day is, he's faith based and believes, that like he said, he was supposed to go to Newberry for a reason. Helped that one of his best friends that we've mentioned before, Coach Rip's son, Carter, went along with him. So you kind of have a built in. He's not a parent or a family member per se, but at least one person at that college you have a comfort level with. If you need something, you can get on the phone and vice versa. And, not only are y'all 8-year teammates, you're best friends. So,
yeah, man, and roommates for the past 2 years also.
And if anybody was watching the South Carolina basketball game with about 3 minutes left the other night, there they were sitting right beside each other watching the probably one of the 3 wins that Carolina will have in conference. So
yeah, I was like Carter, this is way more wins than I thought we would have. He's like, I didn't think we'd have one, and I was like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting there watching, and my daughter's like, "That's Grayson," and I'm like,
"Yeah."
And Carter's was so. I'm thinking all of a sudden. So Coach Remp's son, who is now the quarterback, who now wears 15, so small world. I'm thinking that's Carter's brother. So I'm looking. I'm rewinding. I'm like, I don't see Grayson, and all of a sudden, this guy moves out of the way. And there's Grayson White just sitting there. She's like, why is there a seat between both of them? And I was like, well, if you were their size, would you sit right beside each other when half of the Colonial Life Arena is open? I was like, I had to explain that to her. So you mentioned Newberry, and I don't want to keep you too much longer, but y'all had like he said, we said from the beginning, his theme music, all they do is win. So he goes up here, and this is sophomore year, correct?
Yep, redshirt freshman year, but
second year, yeah. And they played for the Division II National Championship. I'll preface this by saying, I don't care how much it ices this weekend. Yeah. And if your power goes out and stuff like that,
I don't want to hear it.
Do not complain because I was cold just watching that game on TV. So just kind of give us a brief summary because there was a lot of dramatic wins, a lot of come from behind wins. Just kind of, explain that experience compared to a high school football season. It's more of a job. Like I said, you got weightlifting at 7:00 tomorrow morning. But kind of, as it got rolling and y'all kept stacking up the wins, the mindset, was it like, hey man, we got a chance to take this somewhere? Or was it more of a like, man, we won that game and we're going, to the next round? Just kind of give them a insight to how that happened.
Well, I would say from the beginning of the year, Coach Knight instilled in us, after we won the first game, he's like, what's the most important game this year? The next one, So every single week we would go by like that. We ended up losing a tough one to Catawba, but those are the type of wins that you want to have early in the year. Is a tough one where you could build on it. So from there we had, I think, I don't know if it was 9 or 10, one score games that we ended up winning, and into the playoffs, we won, I think, 2 one-score games against West Florida and Albany State. So, and really, like you were saying, more like a job. What was really the best experience was, so we got out at Thanksgiving break, and so all of our playoffs, no one's on campus. It's just you. It's just the weight room. It's just the meetings. It's just football. No classes, nothing. So, that really gave me an insight of, like, wow, this is, and even now, that's how D1 players are. They don't see anyone on campus. So it's pretty special feeling, especially, being at this small school, where the team that we lost to, Ferris State, they had, I think it was 20,000 students, 27,000 students, something like that. And, us, a small school with 1,500, definitely a historic, the best season in Newberry College history. And it was really fun. I was kind of a role player, a stick in guy on the D line. Enjoyed my time when I was in. We had a little Wildcat package for me. I ended up with 2 touchdowns on the year. But yeah, going into that Ferris State game in Michigan, it's negative 12 degrees, and we're warming up. And a funny story, this is kind of when I knew things weren't right. Their coach comes up said to one of our assistants, he goes, "This is the coldest game I've ever coached in my life in Michigan, and I've been coaching here for 50 years." And I was like, "Oh, Lord." And so, those conditions are rough. Ferris State is a great school. Obviously, Trinidad Chambliss, from the Ole Miss quarterback, transferred from there to Ole Miss. So, they got a great tradition, always in it every year. But, talk about special, being a small school from South Carolina. I think we're even the smallest D2, I don't know if I'm right about that, but maybe Coker's in there or something. But, still really special year, and, eternally grateful for that experience.
Is Newberry a university now, or are they a college?
No, college.
Still college, yeah. I don't know what, I guess it probably has to do with the number of majors or whatever, but I do know that Coker is a university now. That's why I asked that question. And the other thing, when I was growing up, they had 2 twin brothers that basically coached 75% of the teams. Like, one coached baseball, girls basketball,
Really?
tennis. Yeah. Another one coached like softball, boys basketball. It's crazy. Dan and Dave Schmatza.
Wow.
But anyway, hopefully y'all can roll that into, the other thing that happens that is good about these D2s, and that's kind of where, I remember some big time players when I followed recruiting a bunch when I was, young and single and had nothing else to do when I first got back from college. People like, I think, Tamir Zimmerman, he started out at like Clemson or Carolina or somewhere. So D2, a lot of times these players that, go to, say, a South Carolina as a preferred walk-on or somebody like that, they really want a chance, and they just have that itch to really get on the field and participate a lot more, will transfer down. In the old days, it was because they didn't have to sit out a year. Now you can go to 7 college. You can like switch colleges in the middle of the year if you want to. But a lot of them would go down there, and then in a lot of cases, with the new transfer rules, there's people that get down there that maybe they didn't take school seriously when they were younger. Maybe they had an Anthony Davis type growth spurt their senior year and nobody knew about them.
I'm waiting on mine.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think that was coming, but he, just kind of, I guess, diamonds in the rough that get there and they use it as a stepping stone to either like a larger or a smaller Division I college like a App State or a Georgia State or somewhere like that, or even higher than that, or they're
Yeah,
at those
we had,
places and they really
Mario
want to make an
Anderson.
impact, you know?
Yep, definitely. Mario Anderson, the old South Carolina running back, started out at Newberry, was, 2-time All-American his freshman and sophomore year, I'm pretty sure. So it definitely goes both ways in that aspect. And, get to meet new people, hear different stories, and it's pretty awesome. I think we got a good group of guys that have came in through the portal this year. You never want to lose key players to the portal, but I'm really excited for some of my best friends that I met that have hit the portal to see what they do. So it's awesome. Coming down here, it's not like everyone wants to do better for themselves and whatnot. So you always have that excitement.
Yeah, and then you just have players that are athletically gifted that went to just very small schools. So I know Grayson is good friends with a guy by the name of Bridges Teal, plays at Newberry.
Yeah.
I met his father at work training and stuff. We don't talk. We keep each other probably. I see what he does on Facebook. Can't find a bigger South Carolina Gamecock fan. If people remember, if people remember the national championship run the South Carolina baseball had back in the 2010 to 2012, Baylor Teal was Bridges Teal's brother, and that he was kind of a spark plug that that kept that team focused on a goal. But I think he's a tall fella in a good shape. I've seen him but he went to like a small private school, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he went to Trinity Collegiate in Hartsville. I'm pretty sure it's in Hartsville. But yeah, I can't say enough great things about Bridges and his family as well. But that they came out for a 30 for 30 on that, I'm pretty sure. Or something like that. Yeah.
It was like one of those SEC storied. Yeah, it was about that whole him and there was another kid, kind of the same thing that happened the year after. That I can't remember that kid's name, but yeah, great story. If you can hear the end, I'm gonna do one thing I've started to try to do with some guests is kind of a rapid fire, just to end it off.
Yeah,
kind of give some people a better insight to some of in this case Grayson White's favorite things. So, favorite food.
I'd have to go with a steak.
Favorite college. We'll just say college football team.
I grew up a South Carolina fan. If you know my family, you know that answer.
Yeah, and if you would have said the other answer, I would have erased this whole podcast.
Yeah,
I know this, but a lot of people will be interested, and we'll take just a slight break. Favorite pro football team?
The Packers are my favorite football team ever since I was a little kid.
And where did that come from?
So when we were younger, we're obviously in South Carolina. We don't have a team. The Panthers, I guess you could consider ours, but I mean,
I hate the Panthers.
I can't stand the Panthers. No one wants to be a Panthers fan. And Brady, my brother Brady, he was a big Tom Brady fan just because, I guess he claims it was his name, but I think it was
because they were winning. Yeah.
I think it was him on the bandwagon, But so Brady was a big Tom Brady fan, and I just kind of looked around and I was like, I'm be a Packers fan, Aaron Rodgers fan. I started asking my mom to get me jerseys and, pajama pants and stuff like that, and it just kept growing as I started falling in love with football.
Yeah, so it's funny with pro teams. In my case, I'm all over the place. I just pull for whoever my daddy did when I was little. But like the Boston Celtics, the LA Dodgers, and people can tell me I'm a bandwagon fan right now. I don't care if they call me a bandwagon. I was, me and my dad got in trouble because I was up too late in 1988 when Kirk Gibson hit the home run. So they can say anything they want to. I don't care. And then the reason I hate the Panthers, I'm a Redskins fan, and that's what I call them. I don't call them Commanders.
That's how my granddad is. He's a Redskins fan as well.
Yeah, so Big Bill, he's a Redskins fan, and because it was the regional team around here. So when the Panthers came in '95, they became the regional team. It just so kind of paralleled with the Redskins, kind of being on a downslide. They had won, I think, two out of 5 Super Bowls, and then right around there, that early 90s, I think the last one they won was 92 or 93. I think it was Doug Williams or either Mark Rippon, and then Dan Snyder bought that team and turned it into dust. Well, it paralleled. So the only time they showed the Redskins, because they weren't the regional team anymore, was when they played the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys were typically just beating the snot out of us. But I am a closet Packers fan for 2 reasons. Number one, I played football in high school with Bonnie Holiday. So I pulled for him when he was there. That was the second reason. The first reason, we talked about rec to begin with. I was on the Kershaw County Packers, and we won back-to-back championships, yellow with green numbers, awesome. And I just kind of started – same thing with the AFC. The first little suit in a box, and I don't even think they make them anymore, or probably even when you were younger, but you could buy a box, and it came with a replica uniform of the pro team, and my parents just happened to buy me the Steelers, which, ironically, I think you mentioned Brian Shivers. I think it was the Steelers that you played for in rec.
Wow.
Okay, Max
dynasty back in rec ball.
I remember. I went to some of those games just to watch because he was running like the spread offense when everybody else was just like handing it off, and doing like audibles and stuff like that. So Max bench press. Not right now, but just your biggest max bench press ever.
I just recently hit 375.
Okay,
so that's my personal best.
We'll go on. Real height.
I went to the doctor last week and I was 6 foot.
Okay,
so I'm allowed to bump it up 1 inch, maybe not 6'2". I don't know what I was thinking back then, but.
Did they measure you while you were still standing on the scale, or after you?
They had the thing. Some doctors have that thing where they lower and it could kind of raise back up.
Yeah.
I might have gave it a little
nudge.
Little nudge on the way out. Hey, you can't hate the player.
All right. Better nickname, G-Dub or B-Dub?
Oh, definitely G-Dub.
Okay. So y'all heard me call him G-Dub to begin with. For people that can't figure it out, Grayson White, G-W. G-Dub. His brother was Brady White, or still is, but B as in Brady, W as in White, cut it down. So that's where G-Dub and B-Dub come from. And a lot of people refer to them as that as opposed to their real names. So anyway, I know you probably have a few tests to study for and stuff like that, so I'm going to let you go, but we appreciate the time. Appreciate you going over your life, and especially in football, and talking a little bit, giving everybody insight to what it was like on the field, off the field, recruiting, team camaraderie, stuff like that. I think people will really enjoy this, and
yes, sir.
Let's make it a reoccurring thing. Maybe next year after football season, we can have you back on and talk about winning the Natty. So, but definitely stay up there. I think it's going to be a little colder and icier up there. I don't know if you stay in the Newberry, hunker down. It's nothing like.
My parents already told me I can't go anywhere this weekend.
Yeah, I mean you've already seen something that's 10 times as worse. So
yeah,
you only have to wear a shirt outside. It'll be warm
that's
to you.
right.
But anyway, everybody stay safe. Hopefully it won't be too bad. We'll be back in a week or two with got quite a few guests that I've reached out to that are looking forward to be on the show. And once again, Grayson, appreciate your time and take care. And we'll talk to you soon. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you, Scoop.